Hello, Barcelona fans. Welcome to Barca Talk News, and remember to subscribe and enjoy your news. Let's dive in. The turning of a blue page. Fermín López's journey from Barcelona to Chelsea. In the sweeping chronicles of modern football, few stories capture the paradox of loyalty and ambition as profoundly as the departure of Fermín López from FC Barcelona to Chelsea Football Club. This narrative, etched in the collective consciousness of Spanish and English football alike, became not just a transfer saga, but a reflection of the emotional, tactical, and cultural shifts that often accompany a footballer's leap across national borders. The transfer, eventually sealed in a storm of speculation and anticipation, resonated far beyond the figures and contractual details printed in the press. It became the embodiment of a young footballer's decision to move from the warmth of Catalonia, where dreams were nurtured under the watchful eye of La Masia, to the colder, more ruthless but promising environment of London, where Chelsea offered a platform shimmering with opportunity. To understand this story is to delve into Fermín López's personal journey, Barcelona's historical dilemma, Chelsea's audacious ambitions, and the broader context of European football politics that frame such moves. The La Masia dream Fermín López was not merely another graduate of La Masia. He represented the continuity of Barcelona's proud tradition of producing technically gifted, tactically intelligent midfielders. Like the legends before him, Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets, he embodied a certain rhythm, a flow that pulsed through the Blaugrana style of play. His understanding of positional play, his ability to turn under pressure, and his fearless forward runs all echoed the spirit of a school that valued brains as much as feet. Barcelona had always prided itself on not just developing players, but shaping identities. Fermín was regarded as one of those players who could seamlessly carry the DNA of the club into the future. Supporters spoke of him as the new Iniesta, a weighty comparison, but one he bore with quiet maturity. The early days of his career, sprinkled with substitute appearances and bold performances in high-pressure matches, seemed to confirm what the coaches had long whispered. Fermín López was destined to be more than a squad player. He was a symbol of hope, a bridge to the era when Barcelona would rely once again on its homegrown core rather than extravagant signings. The cracks in the Catalan edifice. Yet football is rarely a straightforward tale of promise fulfilled. By the time Fermín broke into Barcelona's first team, the club was navigating turbulent waters. The financial crisis had squeezed the Blaugrana into selling players they would have once considered untouchable. The institution that once commanded football's global stage was now fragile, vulnerable to predatory bids from wealthier rivals. For Fermín, the cracks became visible in subtle ways. The promises of consistent playing time were not always fulfilled. Tactical experiments by successive managers left him floating between midfield and attack, sometimes flourishing, sometimes adrift. And though fans adored his courage and work rate, Barcelona's insistence on star signings often overshadowed his rise. The unspoken truth was that Barcelona needed money. The boardroom, with its constant balancing acts between sentiment and solvency, began listening when Chelsea approached. The London club, backed by new ownership eager to build a dynasty, identified Fermín López as a jewel worth prying away. Chelsea's ambitious courtship Chelsea had entered a new era defined by bold investments and an almost relentless appetite for young, hungry talent. Their strategy was clear: build a squad not just for the present, but for a decade. The club had already lured some of Europe's brightest prospects, and in Fermín, they saw the ideal midfielder to inject creativity and bite into their evolving project. Chelsea's scouts admired his ability to combine La Masia's technical schooling with a rugged determination that suited the Premier League's intensity. Unlike some Spanish midfielders who struggled with the league's physicality, Fermín's stamina, pressing instincts, and fearlessness promised a smoother transition. The London club's approach was personal. Their sporting director visited Barcelona more than once, meeting not only with the players' representatives but with Fermín himself, offering him a vision of a starring role in the heart of Stamford Bridge. In contrast to the uncertainty at Barcelona, Chelsea's pitch was one of clarity. Here, you will not just be part of a system. You will be the system's beating heart, the decision. loyalty versus opportunity. For Fermín López, the choice was agonizing. Barcelona was not just an employer, it was the club of his childhood, the place where his identity as a footballer had been forged. The Camp Nou stands carried his family's cheers, and every blade of grass in Catalonia seemed to whisper of his journey. Yet he could not ignore the realities. Barcelona's precarious finances meant they might never fully invest in his development. A single managerial change could reduce him from starter to substitute. Chelsea, meanwhile, offered him the keys to their midfield. At 22, standing at the precipice of what could be the most defining years of his career, Fermín had to weigh the comfort of loyalty against the thrill of opportunity. The breaking point reportedly came during a crucial La Liga clash where Fermín, despite his recent form, was benched. It was not an isolated incident, but the culmination of months of inconsistency in his role. That evening, as he sat on the bench watching his teammates toil, he realized perhaps his destiny lay elsewhere. The transfer saga. The negotiations between Barcelona and Chelsea unfolded with the intensity of a political drama. Barcelona initially resisted, aware of the backlash that would come from selling yet another homegrown talent. Fans had already endured the departures of legends and rising stars alike, and Fermín represented more than just a player. He was the embodiment of the club's survivalist pride. Chelsea, however, were patient but relentless. They sweetened the offer with not only a significant transfer fee, but also performance-based add-ons that promised Barcelona a share of Fermín's future success. Eventually, the figures reached a level Barcelona could not ignore. With financial deadlines looming and debts mounting, pragmatism eclipsed sentiment. The announcement, when it came, sent shockwaves through the football world. Social media exploded with tributes, debates, and even outrage. For Barcelona fans, it felt like losing a son. For Chelsea supporters, it was the dawn of something exhilarating. A player who could anchor their midfield for years to come. Arrival in London. The first images of Fermín López in Chelsea blue were surreal. His shy smile contrasted with the bold, roaring backdrop of Stamford Bridge. Reporters asked how he felt leaving the club of his heart. His response was measured. Barcelona will always be part of me. But I am here to write a new story, to give everything for Chelsea, and to grow as a footballer and as a man. Training in Cobham presented a new challenge. The sessions were more physical, the tempo relentless. Yet Fermín thrived. Teammates were struck by his intelligence, his ability to find space even in the chaos of small-sided drills. The coaching staff quickly realized that they had not just signed a prospect, they had acquired a leader in the making. The cultural shift life in London was a sharp contrast to Barcelona. The weather was colder, the language unfamiliar, the rhythm of the city more hurried. Yet Fermín embraced the challenge. He hired language tutors, immersed himself in English football culture, and often spent evenings studying videos of Chelsea's past legends. What helped most was the embrace of the Chelsea faithful. From his first home game, when he came off the bench and delivered a fearless performance, the fans chanted his name. Stamford Bridge, often demanding and unforgiving, had found a new favorite. Barcelona's aftermath back in Catalonia. The departure left scars. Supporters mourned the loss of another jewel, a reminder of how far the club had drifted from its golden age. Pundits debated whether the sale was wise, whether Barcelona had once again sacrificed the future for the present. Yet, in the long tradition of football, life moved on. A new generation emerged, new promises were made, but the absence of Fermín López lingered as a painful what if. Chelsea's rising star. As the Premier League season unfolded, Fermín López's impact grew undeniable. His tireless energy, sharp passing, and clutch goals made him a central figure in Chelsea's resurgence. Analysts praised his blend of Spanish artistry and English grit. Fans began to dream of titles, whispering that perhaps Chelsea had finally found the midfielder to define their era. For Fermín, every match felt like validation. Not only had he chosen the harder path, but he had also embraced it fully, proving to himself and the world that his move was not abandonment, but evolution. Conclusion: the story of choices. The transfer of Fermín López from Barcelona to Chelsea will be remembered not simply as a financial transaction, but as a story of choices. Choices between loyalty and ambition, between nostalgia and opportunity, between the comfort of home and the thrill of the unknown. For Barcelona, it was a painful necessity. For Chelsea, it was a masterstroke. For Fermín López, it was the decision that transformed him from a promising talent into a global footballing protagonist. Football thrives on such stories, where emotion and pragmatism collide, and where young men are called to make choices that shape not only their careers, but also the identity of the clubs they represent.